I'm making another little fish tank over here to the side, and I'm going to use this like a breeder pond. I'm deciding if I'm going to divide it into two and have it as a breeder tank right there. And I have them to go ahead and start digging on that. They've got it marked off here with nylon, and that way it's some busy work for them. And then over here on the other side, we are adding a whole nother fish tank underneath right here. So we'll use the wall of that one and build 3 more walls. Now that looks like it's a hollow block tank, but it's actually cast concrete. We had a bunch of blocks left over here one time. We had a problem down here in the ground of the soil was trying to collapse on us. So what we did was real quickly stacked those hollow blocks and retained that wall. And then we came back in and poured a solid concrete liner, not the render, a solid concrete liner. So it's 4-inch blocks, and we poured about a 4-inch wall on the inside of that with plywood, and we cast formed it. So it's pretty nice, and I look forward to having this tank so that we can either raise another species or we can have a rotation of different age groups growing. And probably want to put in some freshwater prawns with the tilapia as well, so we have more than just one thing here to eat. Tell you what's a blessing here. It is raining. It is funny that dry season has set in now, and now we're getting rain. Hello everybody. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Well, I want to make a little video in response to the tilapia growing fast video and the tilapia in general, with some different comments that's been made. Now, what sparked this off is a lady wrote a comment just a little bit ago, and she has since, I guess, deleted it. I had initially responded to her, but I deleted my comment back to her, and I said, you know what, I deleted it with just a couple minutes. I said, I'm just going to address on a video several different people's comments all at the same time. Now, some people, they just don't understand some things. And I guess you could say that they're ignorant to the matter. Now, I'm not calling any of my subscribers ignorant. We're all ignorant in this world. We're all still learning in this world. We're all still trying to figure this world out, right? We're born ignorant. Every single one of us is born ignorant. We could not make it from the time we were born if we didn't have our mother or some caretaker feeding us and taking care of us and keeping us away from dangers. We're laying on our back, kicking our feet, and we're an invalid. So we're all born with ignorance. And we learn. And where do we learn from? We learn from our parents and the people around us and teachers and people that guide us. And without that, we're stay pretty basic and fumbling through life. I think it's what took man so long to progress. But we learn to share knowledge, and we learn to educate, and as a whole, as a species, we become smarter and smarter and smarter. We learn faster. There's more tools there to learn faster. And I'm always still learning myself. Sometimes I even learn from you guys. You give me pointers as well, and I give you pointers, and this is what we do. We work all in a symbiotic type situation and learn from each other. This lady, she wrote a comment about how nasty the water is in the fish pond, and would I eat tilapia raised in a farm, and that the foods are full of chemicals and all. I thought about that. And I'm like, you know what? She's just ignorant of the situation. I'm not going to attack her. She's not a troll. No, you all don't call her a troll either. She's ignorant of the situation. Do they not realize how dirty it is out, even in the ocean water? You might think it's so pristine and clear, but they don't realize all of the organisms that are living in the water. I walked out here to the cleanest, clearest spot at the beach, and you took a cup of that water and you took it right underneath a microscope. You will find it so full of so many creatures, microscopically and all. It is unreal. And you leave that water setting out over to the side, even just for a day or two, it's going to turn color because a lot of that stuff's going to start growing even more. The fish in the ocean live off things like plankton, seaweed, algae, all of these things. You know, where do you think they get their feed from? You think they only eat other fish, and the other fish they eat, do you think they only eat other fish? There's food sources. Those food sources are plants and plankton and algae and lower species, snails and worms and things like that. So it's the same in that pond, and it's freshwater, and tilapia like algae. Anywhere in a river, a pond, a natural pond, out in the middle of a field, the water is not going to be crystal clear. It's going to get algae in it. It's going to get all different kinds of life and organisms in it, and it's going to turn green. That is the way that it is. So if you think that you are eating some kind of fish that's just grew up in this crystal clear water and that fish is so fresh that way, you're wrong. You're wrong. So it's a matter of ignorance. Now, there are really dirty fish farming operations. I would have to agree. But in this case, with like tilapia, I have intentionally, when I grew them off from little bitty tiny fry, and intentionally let that water grow algae in it, because that's part of what they need to feed off of. It's like a mother's milk. It's the very small, tiny things that they need to feed off of when they're so little. And as they get bigger, their diet can progress into other things. And then she wrote about just off that fish food and it's full of chemicals. I would have to disagree with her again. First of all, if she'd been watching my videos already, maybe she hadn't and she only caught that one, I have been mainly feeding them natural food. That's been part of what my grow on these fish have been about, is letting them eat natural plant matter like they would in nature and wildlife. And so I've been putting papaya leaves and papaya fruit and banana leaves and other fruit and stuff we've been putting in there. Now, you have to be careful with that because it will spoil the water faster because it breaks down. It's going to have gases come off of it and stuff in the water, deplete the oxygen. So there's a take back on that. So before that stuff decays too much, I need to grab it out of the water and throw it out of there. We don't want a bunch of decaying matter going to the bottom of the pond. And so there is the information that I can share to her back on that. Now, the fish food. Most fish food is just natural stuff. It's like corn and different things for protein. Sometimes it's other fish matter that's been ground and dried and made in a powder form, and it's all pressed into a pellet. Different natural plants and animal that's been pressed into a pellet. But chemicals, not so much. Not so much. So it does have a lot of corn and things like that in it. So once again, I'd have to call that some ignorance right there. Now, sometimes there's hormones that they'll put in the water with tilapia when they're real a certain age, and it causes all the sex of all of them to become males because the males tend to grow bigger. And they have to do that just during a certain time of their age and growth, and you can convert the whole group of fry and turn them over into all male species and get a real fast and bigger grow rate. Even in that pond now, I could probably pick out which ones are the males and females because some are growing bigger than others already. So yeah, it's not all that everything grows in pristine, crystal clear water. Imagine if I gave you a diet of only water, the most clear, filtered, Fuji water ever, you know, and that's all you had. That's all you had. You're not going to survive in that. But if I gave you things with nutrition in it, you know, a nutritional drink, and say I ground up some fruits and some vegetables and stuff in it, now you can live on that. But it's the same for the fish. You might look at that as a dirty green water, but that's a protein shake for them. Do you get it? That's a protein shake that they're swimming around in. That is their food. And so they can't survive just in crystal clear water. And then what do you expect them to eat on top of that if you're not feeding them fish, some kind of fish food? I mean, it takes a lot of plant matter for them to make it in a confined space. So I'm doing about a 50-50 right now. I'm giving them natural plant foods here, but I'm also, because I don't want to take a million years for them to grow, I am supplementing them with some pellet as well. So that'll cover that. Now let's go on to another comment that was made. And I'm not calling nobody's names. These are not trolls, so please don't say I'm addressing a troll. I'm not. These are not trolls. These are just people that don't know. Another gentleman said that all of my fish in there are guppies, and they're common in the Philippines and in Australia and all. He's calling out that I don't even have tilapia in there, that I've got guppies. No, sir, you're wrong. You are a borderline troll, because if you're going to comment something you're not sure about, don't comment like that. But no, sir, they are not guppies. They are tilapia. And maybe you need to keep watching so you can learn the difference between a tilapia and a guppy, sir. So on with you. Appreciate your comment though and giving me a topic to talk about. As I said in a previous video, my family here know a lot about these fish and the species and be able to tell them out when they see them. They even catch them along these shores and sort them and sell them to places that raise fish or hatcheries that want breeders and things like that. And they are very good at sorting them, and even when they're down to a tiny, tiny little size. Now, at the same time, my family here are still learning from me. Just because they're right here and they're around fish all the time, they have set ways, just like in building, that they don't always know the best way or other things. They have a real narrow path, real narrow window that they've been in, and they don't see a broader picture sometimes. They don't know about other things. So when it comes to raising fish, all they know here, Melinda's brothers, all the people around, all they know is going up here to the agri place and buying fish food, just like buying pig food, and throwing it to them, and that's how you feed them. So for them, it was their first time. For all these people working for me, living here in a fish village, it was their first time to see tilapia eating papaya leaves and eating papaya fruit and banana leaves and other fruits and stuff we put in there. It was their first time. They had never seen that. They had never even seen them eat duckweed, and they had never even seen them eat azolla. It was all brand new to them. I was teaching them. They were all in shock of a filter that I'm building. With that, people build these and put on fish ponds, goldfish ponds, koi, tilapia ponds, catfish, all the time for backyard farms. Same thing. It was the first time they seen it, and they instantly credited themselves, even though I built it here, with some things that I gathered up. As soon as I put it up, I heard one of them say, Filipino ingenuity. I'm like, I'm not a Filipino. I didn't build that from a Filipino plan. There's people in every country around the world, England, US, Africa, all throughout Asia, everywhere around the world, Australia, all around, using that same method to build these filters. So where did it instantly become Filipino ingenuity? How about human ingenuity, you know? But they had that Filipino pride. And I said, nah, people build these globally. This isn't just a Filipino thing. But I heard them still over there talking, Filipinos so smart to build that. So, yeah, even though they had never seen one before. So that's another little bit pissy information that I wanted to share on that. I'm teaching them at the same time. And my question to them was the same thing that I had to you viewers. What if the supply chain broke? What if you could not go buy commercial feed? Like what all's been going on this pandemic, and you see these things going on in like Ukraine and all this stuff. Well, what if the supply chains are broken? A lot of supply chains got broken during this past couple of years. And you can't run and go buy that commercial feed, or the prices went sky high like it did on pig food. And it's still up pretty high. Well, you need alternatives and natural ways, and there's ways to feed things besides only buying commercial feed. Not saying I'm not going to buy none, but it's good to know an alternative if there's none available. Everything don't have to grind to a halt. They may not grow as big and fast because of all the fatty things in that food and the strong proteins, but they're still going to grow nonetheless, and they're still going to be edible. So that's part of else what I wanted to share on there is being able to feed them some natural diet, and we'll explore ways to put that in there that don't spoil the water so easy. I'm looking right now at maybe wrapping that fruit and those leaves into a net like ball and tying it off on the side, and they can pick that through that net and eat it, and then I don't have all that decaying matter dropping down and spoiling my water down in the bottom and all. And make it easier to keep the pond clean. I can take that out, discard that stuff after a couple of days, put fresh in it, and continue on. So that's one idea I have. If y'all have another idea that you can share how I can put the natural foods in there and it stay afloat where they can get it, not sink to the bottom and spoil, share that to me, because once again, I say I'm learning also, and I do learn from some of you. And some of you, I shake my head at it. Yeah, some of you I shake my head at. So then, some of you wrote about my pump, that I need to put a screen on the bottom of it to keep from sucking the fish through it. Well, that particular sump pump is already made with a screen around the bottom of it. So what I need to put a screen on it for? It already has a screen. Once again, you just don't know. And next thing is it's drawing that water from all the way around it, 360 degrees, and from the bottom. So it has a huge source that it's pulling that from, but then just down to a small tube. So there's not such a hard vacuum anywhere around that pump that a fish swimming by 24 inches away is going to get sucked up into a pump. And anything like that pump, they're staying away from it. I never even see them get near it. They stay clear of it. I never even see them get near. I think all the noise and everything, the vibration in the water with it and all, I always see them stay out away from that pump. That's been my experience. I have not had no fish to get sucked through the pump. They're doing great. But I do get it if you had a pump that didn't have a screen and maybe it had a real hard suction port coming in on one place on it. Yeah, I could see them getting sucked up right there. You'd probably want to put you a pipe or something in with multiple holes and a piece of net over it to where it's drawing water off a large area, not pulling real hard just in one area, and then on up into your pump down in the water there. So that's an idea. Have like a perforated pipe that it's drawing up through. What else was there that people had comment on? Oh, the fish food, that floating food that I put, that it's too big for them. No, that floating food, it sits there, they nibble off of it. Imagine they nibble off of a papaya. They nibble and eat off of papaya leaves. You think they can't nibble off of that food while it's floating on top? And I'm not trying to just shove it into them in one big old gulp, you know. It kind of keeps the fish occupied like a toy for a while, you know. They can all work and nibble at it. They do have a mouth that they can bite with. And they do have little abrasive things on their lips like a fish do if you've ever held a fish that will break that food down. So no, it doesn't have to be perfect size for their mouth where they can just take one big bite and all of that. They run around, they're eating it up just fine. And if I bought that real fine stuff, I'd had to buy just a little bit and throw it out. And next thing you know, you're already needing to upgrade the other, and maybe hadn't used this other up yet, and they're no longer interested in the tiny stuff. They want the bigger stuff, and now you wasted money or it spoils and this and that. So no, I'm managing fine, but I appreciate your comment. So maybe you can learn something from me, and I'll hear out what you have to say as well. It's working. Like the one gentleman comment from the poop tail running out the back of them, and how fast they're growing. I think they're doing just fine, and yeah, they are. So I appreciate that as well, of another viewer seeing and knowing, using common sense. Now, the next is a gentleman wrote that looks like I have more than one species of fish in there. And I'll have to tell you again, no. There's just one species. They were all tilapia. They were all gathered in a group. And when we got them out of this water trap behind the sandbar, and they're just all one species. Now, how do I know? One thing, I don't show every move I make on video, but I go out there with a little net thing I have and dip it in the water when they're feeding, and I look at them. I want to see how they're growing. And shame on me that I haven't shared that on video. I need to. And they're beautiful little fish growing right now. They got all their little lines to their colors on their sides and all, looking really pretty. Now, maybe it's because you've seen some that look bigger and some that look smaller. And that is, as I said earlier in this video, some of them are growing faster than others, and males tend to grow faster than the females into tilapia species. It's just like people. Some people just grow bigger than the other person. You can have two brothers, and one brother's small, one brother's bigger. It's the same thing, just they're not all growing even at the same time. You're always going to have some that are going to grow bigger, and that's what that is. So that's a few of the comments I wanted to cover right now in this little video about tilapia. I'll cover more at another time. The guys are finishing up on their lunch, coming back to work right now. And appreciate you hearing me out. If y'all have anything to say about this video, write in the comments, that's fine. So we're all trying to learn, and don't ever be afraid to comment. That's why I don't say nobody's names, and don't be shy, and maybe sometimes just ask a question. And we will see you all on the next one. God bless and take care.